This is Beer in Front, part of the Beer Media Group. Every week I'll talk to people in and around the beer world and get their stories all about beer. That's Beer in Front, and it's coming up now. Welcome to the 5th anniversary show of Beer in Front. I'm your host, Dave Zalatoris, and Beer in Front is a charter member of the Beer Media Group. I'm looking at gifts like the etiquette guide. What's a gift for the 5th anniversary? And I'm thinking, should be beer, but it's wood. What am I going to do with that? So I don't know. Emily Post, you need to rewrite the etiquette guide. I think it should be beer. I have a good show for you this week. I talked to Trent Modglin from Illinois Brewing Magazine. We sat down and they drinked at Begyle, and we talked about the great state of Illinois, his magazine, breweries all around the state. And later on, Kevin Cary from Begyle, he joined us and we talked for a while. That interview got cut short on technical issues that were 1,000% my fault. So we got the gist of the interview, but at the end of that, I'll add some more to what Kevin was saying before I had equipment failure. You'd think after 5 years, I'd have decent equipment. I guess the more things change, the more they stay the same. When I started this 5 years ago, the orange dude was president. Now he's back. The episode, the very first time I recorded the podcast was the day Rod Blagojevich was pardoned, and there were helicopters circling my house because Blagojevich lives in my neighborhood, and then last week he gets pardoned, so I guess we're all coming full circle here. When I started the show, the main focus was on craft beers we've forgotten about, and if I remember my tagline back then, while you were getting your check-ins and badges, well, there's only so many shows I can do on Sierra Nevada's Pale Ale and other ones. Anchor Steam is no longer with us. They're coming back, but, other classics just aren't around anymore to drink. So, the show has kind of evolved along the way where it's just more, hey, let's just enjoy what's in front of us. You don't need to go out there and chase every white whale that's there. You know what? Sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet. And right now, I'm having from Hot Butcher Resplendence, which is a bourbon barrel-aged barley wine that's very good. And I'm enjoying the beer that's in front of me. And I think, and it's not just in beer, but I think just in general, everyone, and maybe I'm just, having too much of this bourbon barrel-aged barley wine, but we're looking for the next best thing, and we just don't appreciate what's in front of us. That's what I'm getting at. That's what the show is. Appreciate what's in front of you. I love craft beer. I love the people that are in craft beer, and I'm looking forward to the next 5 years. I'm looking forward to getting more stories from people. I don't want to do as many solo 15-minute episodes. I'd like to hear more from people around the beer world because to me that fascinates me, that interests me. This is an art. This is a skill. This is a talent that I will never have, and I appreciate that. A well-crafted beer is the best 20, 30 minutes you could have. You're just sipping it, enjoying it. A lot of it has to do with the company that you're with or the environment, but a great beer is just so important, and it just makes me feel alive, and that makes me feel excited to keep going, and I'm looking forward to the next 5 years. In 2020, everyone started a podcast, and luckily, I started mine a couple weeks before the pandemic. But once that pandemic hit, once shit shut down, like around St. Patrick's Day of 2020. If you weren't making sourdough starters, you started a podcast. So I had a 2-week head start, but it's funny going back on like older episodes. A lot of the people I had on were from shows that no longer existed. They got off that podcast train once their downloads died down, once people got back to work. But it's funny, like I know even my downloads, they're down. But, whatever, I'm still enjoying it. I still get good feedback from people that do listen, so that's what's important. But it's just funny going back, like, man, this show hasn't been on in like 3 years. But there's a lot of people that have come on in the last 5 years that I want to give thanks to. Ray Stout from the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild. He's been on a ton of times. Ray is a great human being. Love Ray to death. Go Jets. Lauren from the Beard Ale podcast. She's been on numerous times. We were part of the Odd Pods Media Network, which I left because I wanted to do my own thing with the Beer Media Group. But I think Lauren and her family, I've met her father, David, a couple times at O'Hare. They're great people. So many other people that have come on to talk about beer in the beer world, from breweries here in Illinois, talking to people from even today, Kevin from Begyle, talking to Trevor at Old Irving, talking to Brent over at Burning Bush, and countless others. And, I don't want to skip over anyone, but there's been a lot of brewery people here in Illinois and throughout the country that I've talked to that, like 5 years ago, I never would have even asked to come on. And now, people want to come on, or people even send me pitches, which is just boggles my mind. I mean, I'm 57 and I got some mental health issues, but I could never imagine in a million years people would want to talk to me about beer. So I'm extremely grateful for everyone that's come on the show. Emily Hutto from Radcraft, she's amazing. One of my favorite people in the world. The fact that we communicate with each other, she's given me great, guests and show ideas. I mean, it's just it touches my heart. And I think everyone that's come on the show that wants to talk to me about beer, I'm really touched, and I thank everyone. In beer and beverage news, the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame announced its inaugural class of inductees. I'm not going to read them all to you, but I had Marty Nachel on a month or so ago. We talked about this. To find out more about all of the inductees, the worthy inductees, I might add, head over to AmericanCraftBeerHallOfFame.com. Athletic Brewing and Live Nation have teamed up. They're going to make athletic, non-alcoholic beers available in over 100 different concert arenas or venues, and it's a major music festival. So you'll be able to get some non-alcoholic beverages at Live Nation venues, but you could also go brewing at Riot Fest. So that's more important. Bell's Brewing is coming out with a tropical hop slam. This is going to have some tropical hops. It's going to be a 9%, 16-ounce cans, and they're going to have it on draft. That's going to come out later this year. Simply, now they make orange juice and other stuff, but they also make a seltzer, and I do like their seltzers. I'll say that right now. But now they're coming out with a spiked bold, where it's now going to be extra boozy. So look for Simply Spiked Bold, 8% alcohol by volume, coming out in a grocery store near you. St. Patrick's Day is less than a month away as I'm recording this on the 18th, and Many breweries are coming out with an Irish Red or an Irish Ale. I had the great Dicey Riley over at Begyle, which, stay tuned, that part will be coming up. You'll hear about that on the interview. But everyone's coming out with an Irish Red, an Irish style. And when I make my corned beef, I always make it. And I always made it with Great Lakes Conway's Irish Ale, which is still a phenomenal beer. I love that beer. But I'm thinking maybe for 2025, I could do like a video and do it with Dicey Riley. I know Old Irving, I think theirs is called Lucky Linny. I could be wrong on that, and I apologize if I'm wrong, but maybe do like a craft beer cooking segment, making a corned beef with some great Illinois Irish Red. If you think that's a good idea, let me know, and you don't have to twist my arm to make a corned beef. All right, welcome back. If you read Illinois Brewing Magazine, and you should read the latest edition, I was going to say that's not the one. You should look at the latest issue. The Winter 2025 Taproom Treasures is on the cover. When you get the magazine, open up to page 12. Like, they dug deep to get to me. Like, they've exhausted everybody in the state of Illinois to talk about beer. But I'm happy to have on the publisher of Illinois Brewing Magazine, Trent Modglin. Trent, thank you so much, sir.
Glad to be with you, and I didn't have to dig that deep. Don't sell yourself short,
You had to go down
sir.
to the Z's to the bottom of the alphabet.
It was a quick scroll.
Yeah.
It was a quick scroll.
So, how long have you been putting the magazine out? I love it. Comes out quarterly. It's great, so it's nice to talk to you in person here for the show. But, how long have you been doing it?
I appreciate it. Yeah, we've been doing it it's going on 3 years now. It was fall of 2022 that we put it out. It had been an idea that was brewing. My designer, who's fantastic, Brian Hertel, and we go back about 20 years. We worked for a football magazine back in the day and a Chicago entertainment magazine that I published. And so we had this idea. We were craft beer nerds. And we looked around and actually couldn't believe that there wasn't anything out there for us. I mean, there's certainly bloggers and social media folks, but nothing that really kind of delved deep into the industry in Illinois. And as great as it is, and we wanted to kind of take that and expose all the great things that are happening. And so how it came to be, we were interested in launching it. And I reached out. I was friends with the PR director for the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild, which is, in essence, the Chamber of Commerce for almost 300 craft breweries in Illinois. And at the same time, Ray Stott was taking over as a new executive director, and he's got a marketing background, and he was very eager to help us along. And so even though we didn't need it, we wanted a sponsorship, a collaboration with the Guild, and for a lot of reasons, and they're fantastic. And so bringing together the Guild, all the good things that they're doing to help promote the industry and all the craft breweries and associate members as well. It just seemed like a perfect fit, and it has been great. And so the focus is on the Guild members in the greater state of Illinois.
Now, you mentioned a magazine background before. What other magazines have you put out?
Well, Brian and I worked for Pro Football Weekly for about a decade or so, and I published a magazine called The Real Chicago. Okay. For 14 years. It was kind of an entertainment, tourism-focused magazine in the city. And I currently publish The Real Park Ridge, which benefits the northwest suburbs, kind of family-friendly entertainment, telling people where to go, what to do. We also incorporate a lot of stuff from Chicago for obvious reasons. So my time is split between The Real Park Ridge and Illinois Brewing fairly evenly, and coaching a bunch of fifth graders in football and basketball too. So can't get that. That leads me to drink sometimes. So
yeah, absolutely. I remember reading Pro Football Weekly 35 years ago, getting it, every week, waiting it would arrive at the airport on Wednesday. So we make sure we grab that before the internet. Look at all your fantasy football info before
I probably wrote a lot of that
on the weekend. Yeah.
Yep.
You might have noticed this isn't the pristine, luxurious Beer in Front studios we're recording it. There's background noise being the 5th anniversary show, I wanted to stay in the neighborhood, and Trent mentioned that we should hit up Begyle Brewing. So here we are. What are you having right now, Trent?
I am having one of my favorites here. It's a haphazardly New England hazy IPA, and they do so many good things. I have a drive back to the suburbs, the near suburbs though, but I'm saving myself for a barrel-aged pajamas on the way out the door, hopefully. But yeah, they always have a lot of good things going on, and this is part of the Malt Row district, and there's a lot of great things happening right in here between Begyle, Dovetail, Half Acre, Hop Butcher now on Lincoln Avenue, and Spiteful, also right next door to Half Acre up there on Balmoral. And those five, I'm sure I'm missing a couple, but
yeah, what is
demo
or
is
new?
Was is now, is was right here, and just hug that Metro line and the Ivy, and you can't go wrong. There's a lot of good bottle shops around here too.
Oh yeah, I mean, I mentioned in the magazine that I always go to Bottles and Cans.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Because I'm from the area. I could walk here. I mean, not today. It's a sheet of ice in Chicago, but normally I could walk here, Dovetail, Bottles and Cans. It's just, we're blessed. If you live in this part of Chicago, you don't have to go far for great beer.
And one of the I'm not going to call it underrated. It's certainly not, but Bitter Pops down here on Lincoln and Belmont in Lakeview is really good. One of the best smash burgers I've ever had in my life. Great draft list. And a really good bottle shop, and they're adding to their whiskey and bourbon selection too.
Yeah, so they're open for breakfast too. Yeah, I know they do pastries and stuff.
They do a lot of stuff, and it's just on that corner. You could, if you cruise by, you could miss it, but once you get inside, it quickly becomes a favorite.
Yeah, I haven't been there since they moved a couple doors down. I was at the old place a couple times, and I always thought it was great. They had a great selection. Like I mentioned in the magazine, what I like about Bottles and Cans, you could, make your own mix pack. I'm sure they still do it at the new location, but, that's one of the great things about these bottle shops here, promiscuous, same way. Yeah, you don't have to commit to a 4-pack or a 6-pack of something. Yeah, you might spend an extra buck, but if you want to sample everything the great state has to offer, those places are great.
The only hard part about that is sometimes when you're sitting, like I sit with my neighbors, and they know what my beer fridge looks like. And if I do a mix pack and I like something, I was like, shoot, I still have to share some of this. Yeah. You got one 16-ounce can, and all of a sudden you got to split it 4 or 5 ways. Like, oh, wait, I kind of wish I had gotten a 4-pack now.
See, that's why you go to Costco and get that 12-pack of the Kirkland Lager,
right?
Which is excellent, but that just stays. So a friend comes by, here you go, GABF Gold winner.
It works.
Speaking of Great American Beer Festival Gold Medal winners, we're at Begyle, where they won, I think it was 2019 for their barrel age. They won in gold, so definitely Begyle has some hardware as well.
Yeah, it's amazing how many, I just call it an embarrassment of riches. And I know that's an overused, cliche or phrase, but truly I would stack Illinois' consistency up against almost anyone. Now there's certain cities, right, like the Grand Rapids and the Asheville, North Carolinas, and Portland, Oregon's, Denver, which, as a city, yes, they're fantastic. But when you go from the tip of Illinois and Southern Illinois all the way up to Gurnee and Chicago and the west suburbs and everything else, I would put Illinois up against almost any other state in terms of just the quality across the board. And it shows up in the Great American Beer Festival and the different competitions across the country. It shows up consistently. And, it's the proof is in the pudding, or the proof is in the beer in this point.
Yeah, and especially, this probably being the barrel age capital of the world. So, you have FOBAB here every November, and, we just mentioned Begyle has won a gold for Imperial Pajamas, but, between, the OG Goose Island to Revolution and Half Acre, I mean, everybody's putting out a world-class barrel-aged beer, and it's, fantastic.
And what I love, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of barrel-aged stouts, syrupy, and just give me that 14. I remember this, I took some neighbors to FOBAB this last year, and I prepped them. A couple of them had been with me before, and there was 1 or 2 new ones. And I prepped them in advance. I said, just, get a base, get some pancakes or a big deli sandwich or something in you. And we get there, and the first 3 I had were 17, 16, and 14%. And I was like, wait a second, that's an eye-opener. But what impressed me the most is how much people are doing barrel age-wise in different styles. Back in the day, in FOBAB many years ago, you had 100 stouts. and maybe 8 or 10 others, and now you have barrel-aged lagers, you have pilsners, you have sours, everything across the board, and they're all quality, and they're flavorful and different different variants, and people come and they are creative. I mean, whether it's, you get sketchbooks, Mexican hot chocolate, barrel-aged stout to somebody else did a rum, it was a rum barrel-aged pilsner. I mean, you name it, it's out there, and it's in full force, and people are really getting into it. I agree. It's the barrel-aged capital of the world. There's no doubt.
Yeah, even like you're mentioning different barrels, like Off Color with and a mezcal version of the beer for tacos. They just released a tequila barrel beer for tacos, which I picked up a week ago. That's really good. But yeah, there's sours, and I apologize. I'm just trying to think of this off the top of my head. It might have been Distill in Illinois. They had a barrel-aged pickle beer last year.
Pickle beer, yeah.
That I'm like, all right, I'll have to try it. I'm here. And it was almost like drinking a Reuben. It was so good. I'm like, I never would have thought it, but barrel-aged pickle beers are good.
That's the best part, is you don't have to think of it because somebody else is, and likely they're in Illinois. I mean, I go back to Sketchbook. They had a Grodzisky. They had a variation of it where it was a Chicago-style hot dog.
Okay.
And it was celery salt and mustard seeds and, the whole, and I mean, it was pretty close. It tasted, it wasn't too far off. And I'm always intrigued by, and what I like too is that the barrel aging isn't just, December, January. A lot of them are doing it now and stretching it out. And I had the luxury one time at Church Street in Itasca, fantastic brewery, family owned. And they let me sample, like they go through with almost like a turkey baster, and the staff decides whether one's ready to keg or not. And when we're ready to move on, and they said they check it every few weeks or whatever. And when it's ready, when staff decides it's a majority, whatever, they move on and keg it. But it can change. The beer changes every few weeks. You don't know. It's like there's a lot of pressure on these folks to choose the right time to keg it and sell it because so many things can change that sits in a barrel.
Yeah, I haven't been to Church Street in years. That was great location. I mean, they put out world-class stuff. Do they still do a lot of contract brewing for others?
They do a little bit of contract brewing. What's interesting is the dad who started initially started the brewery. It's a German engineered system, and it's he's very particular about it. But he retired, and his son and wife pretty much run the brewery, and everything out there is so great. But I kind of joked with him when I was interviewing for a feature, and I said, "What happens if something goes wrong?" He goes, "Well, I call my dad or I call Munich." That was kind of the response. And but they do a lot of they have a wide. They're probably one of my favorites in the state for kind of the wide range of what they put out and the quality across the board. Very underrated in Beer Garden out back too. They got a neat little sun
patio. I mean, that wasn't even there.
Yeah.
The last time I was there, it's been so long. You were mentioning before the quality of breweries from north to south. Now, Illinois Brewing Magazine, is that available all throughout the state?
Yes. So we distribute to every Illinois Craft Brewers Guild member brewery, which is by rough count, I would say about 250 out of the 300 or so breweries in the state. So it's UPS style distributed. I still distribute to my old neighborhood in the northwest side of Chicago. Like this, we talked about Malt Row earlier, just because I get to meet up with some of my friends and have a few pints along the way. And I like showing my face and making sure they're anxious to see the magazine and everything. And then we also distribute to almost 100 bottle shops and festivals throughout the year, every quarter. And we constantly try to replenish throughout the 3-month runtime if anybody's out. As Begyle was today, I was glad to see that they were down to their last few. So a nice little extra stack for them to get them through, the end of the quarter.
That's just me grabbing everyone.
Yeah,
just
hey, that's okay.
Out, working at the airport, people are like, I missed my flight. What do I do for 4 hours? Well, I have a magazine for you to look at.
If you want to miss that flight and stick around and have a few pints in Chicago, yeah. But the other interesting little distribution factor is that it is distributed to every Imbibe member. So if you're an Imbibe member with the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild, I think it's about, don't quote me on this, but I think it's about $50 a year. And you get in an hour early to FOBAB and to Beer Under Glass, the two big festivals they put on. And then you also get the magazine delivered straight to your house.
Okay,
So,
cool.
right to your mailbox, and you don't have to go. We don't blame you for going to a brewery to pick one up, but you don't have to.
Yeah. I picked up mine. I kept going in because, we were emailing, and you're like, okay, and I think you sent me the website link, which was up before the physical magazine was out. So I'd be going in bottles and cans. I'd be going everywhere. Is the magazine out? No, not yet. No, not yet.
The good news is it's usually we leave large stacks everywhere, and it gets gobbled up, and I'll get multiple emails a week saying, hey, can we get another batch, and so it's we put a lot of work into it, and Brian and I have got a nice little layout, and we know what people want to read, and we get some great feedback from people in the industry, and a lot of like yourself, and we have a brewer's choice section where we pick 3 brewers from across the state. They get to brag about other people in the industry, what they're doing, what they have coming up, what they're most proud of, and things like that. And we have another feature that's really popular called Breweries in Bunches, where we take, anywhere from 3 to 4 to 7 breweries that are in one particular suburb, one neighborhood of Chicago, Bloomington, Illinois, whatever, and we highlight, why they're popular, what they have going on, what's the most intriguing part about the brewery, and get their input as well, what they have going on and so forth. So it's a good way to, if somebody's, nowadays people take a lot of, weekend vacations. Yeah. It's not just Saturday we're going to hit 2 or 3 breweries. People might take a weekend and hit a different suburb, hit a different town. And there's so many, great options out there that we wanted to showcase. Like, hey, if you're in this area, it's not just this one that you've heard of. It's also the other 4.
I live here. I talk about Malt Row all the time, but
I don't blame you. But
yeah. What do you think are some like hidden gems or hidden like pockets of the state that don't get the love, that don't get, the word of mouth, that you think maybe these people or these breweries deserve a little bit more?
No, that's a great question. I would say the one that comes to mind right off the bat is Bloomington Normal. They've always been some favorites of ours. The Illinois Craft Brewers Guild has their annual convention there every spring, and so that's fun to go down, and the entire state is there. They bring samples. They fill up a couple troughs worth of samples, and it's our job to sample as many as possible, but also take some home, and there's great speakers. They do a phenomenal job of not only helping the industry, but promoting it as well. And so Keg Grove Distill, you mentioned earlier, is down there. White Oak, tucked away in a little neighborhood. It's kind of hard to find, but they are routinely mentioned as one of the most underrated breweries in all the state. Like what they're doing out down there has been great. Casper's down there, and Fiala Brothers. So there's 5. I hope I'm not missing anyone. There's 5 right there in Bloomington that are really good. I'm a big fan of. I am impartial. I will say that as the publisher of Illinois Brewing, but at the same time, you have your underrated favorites. Roaring Table, Phase 3 is certainly not underrated, but Lake Zurich, you have Roaring Table, and they do just a great job. It's a wonderful couple that owns that, and they're expanding, and they're right down the road from Phase 3, so it's like an easy opportunity to hit 2 great breweries right there. They're really good with their lagers, and just they have some interesting stuff on cask, some ESBs and lagers that are great pours. And in Elmhurst, I would throw Elmhurst and St. Charles in the mix. Elmhurst, you have, again, the Phase 3 second location, great kitchen. Like the food is matches the beer, which is, I didn't think I'd ever say that with Phase 3, but the food matches the beer. They're both top notch. Elmhurst Brewing is there. Bottle Theory and Beer on the Wall are 2 great bottle shops. Bottle Theory has a food menu that would rival most restaurants, and they have a lot of events and things. And then Beer on the Wall, I'm partial to the one in Park Ridge. I go there as often as anybody I know, but they have 3 locations. They have one in Arlington Heights and Elmhurst as well. And this is a long-winded answer, I apologize, but St. Charles also has 5 great breweries. 93 Octane, Alter right on the Fox River is great. Their food is phenomenal. Riverlands, I would put their hazies and barrel-aged program up against almost anybody in the state.
I wish Riverlands would, or we could get more of it here, because everything I've had from them has been phenomenal.
Luckily, Beer on the Wall usually carries a lot of Riverland stuff. There's a Pollyanna location out there, and I'm forgetting one, and I apologize in advance for who that is. But there's, what's nice is that you can find these suburbs, and you don't realize, you might hear of one, right? Or you see one because it's on a busy part. But there's usually, if you dig a little deeper, there's always 3 or 4, and a lot of those have so much character. Staff is super friendly, and keep an eye on. A lot of them have specials. I just did an inside scoop blog yesterday on IllinoisBrewing.com, and so many of them have great happy hours. Half-price flights on Tuesdays. Kishwaukee Brewing in Woodstock. That's another underrated. Woodstock. Don't get me started on how many great breweries are up there. But Kishwaukee Brewing has like a half-price flights on Tuesdays, and I think Thursdays maybe are, again, don't quote me, but it's maybe $5 pints, something like that. But all it takes is just a little research, find out what's great about the local establishments, and I can't say enough about supporting local because everybody needs it right now. It's a saturated market.
Kishwaukee, that's a place I need to get up to. I've actually started going back and forth with Cary, I believe her name is, from Kishwaukee, and we've talked at Beer Under Glass and other things, so we're going to try to do something, because I know it's a beautiful space. The Paysons, Cary Payson, they're it's just again, it's kind of, you're driving there's no way there's a brewery back here.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's a big, yard and a huge, beautiful brewery. And one of the things about them, and I wish this was a trend that would catch on, is they brew their Marzen year round.
Okay.
So they essentially have an Oktoberfest year round on draft, which I can't compliment enough. I wish everyone did that. And I think people would, they wouldn't be clamoring so much for it in August.
Yeah,
like they are now.
When they come out in July or August.
It's one of my favorite styles, and it makes too much sense not to do it year round.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. You were talking about trends. Do you see any new trends that are going to take over in 2025?
Well, I mean, and just speaking with the Guild in the last couple of meetings with the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild, there's still some things happening in Springfield. They're trying to decide what to do with the CBD and the THC infused beers, and so right now it is legal, and people are brewing as they want to, different variations of those. So I think that's kind of got a trend in that direction for sure. And obviously having seltzers and NA beers, that's not anything new, but at the same time, I mean, look at the popularity of Go Brewing, the suburbs. I mean, their expansion has been incredible. And so just having options for people who maybe aren't interested in that, 8% IPA, right? But they want to hang out with their friends, and that's why the seltzers and the, having wine and food and things like that, I think is definitely a trend in that direction. But lagers, I mean, depending on which brewery you ask, the return of lagers, and they love it. They can't wait. They're just like, you see it, the enthusiasm in their face when they love brewing lagers and ales and things like that. So kind of that shift back to, the more reasonable, crushable 4 and 5 percenters, as opposed to the 8.5s that I like.
Yeah, and I was talking to somebody else on the show a couple months ago, like in 2024, and it's like, for 5-6 years, you kept hearing everybody, oh, this is going to be the year of the lager. This is going to be the year of the lager. And I'm like, I think we finally hit it.
I think we hit it.
2024.
Yeah.
But, you were mentioning the Brewers Guild and some laws that are coming up. I just read on the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild, they posted something about SB 1622 and HB 2556 that want to regulate programs like mug clubs, so like different breweries, legalized donations to nonprofits. So I know like our Brewers Guild is doing a lot. Luckily in this neighborhood, we have a couple really good. State Representative Williams is good. State Senator Feigenholz is good. Even our aldermen, luckily we have some, people in office that look out for breweries.
Yeah. And I will say that, I mean, the Guild, with Ray Stout's direction, and they're out in front. They're in Springfield pretty regularly. They're always on the horn with their representatives and things like that to benefit the Guild. I mean, really to benefit the industry, because for years, decades, the industry has not been treated the same
I mean, you can have wine delivered to your house. You can't have beer delivered to your house. And there's so many different restrictions for breweries that just don't, whether it's distribution and all kinds of different angles, that it's unfair. And they're not held to the same, they're held to different standards, I should say. And there's no reason for it. I mean, it's asinine, and hopefully we're headed in the direction where, some of those major things are starting to change.
Yeah, I was talking to a brewer in Florida yesterday, and we were talking about distributing, and he's like, I wish I could send you something. He's like, I can't. He's like, I could send you as an individual samples for promotion, but he was like, that's the extent of it. He's like, I wish I could, send you or send anybody for that matter a 6-pack or a 12-pack. He's like, just can't do it.
And in Illinois, it's even worse.
Yeah.
It doesn't make fiscal sense, and it's antiquated. It's so beyond. Things should have been fixed many, many years ago. But the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild is on top of it, and they're really working with members of Congress and things like that, the right people, to hopefully make changes and make them soon.
Well, I'm going to hit pause on this for a second because I need to go up and grab another beer. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back. Once again, we're at Begyle Brewing in Malt Row. We stopped up at the bar and we both grabbed the same one, the Munich Dunkel. This is 5%. I think this is excellent. What do you think, Trent?
It's fantastic. Little malty, little smoky even. Tastes like I'm sitting at a Munich with my feet up in a beer garden somewhere.
Yeah. Just need a pretzel now.
That's
all we need is a nice pretzel.
Yeah,
no, this is excellent. Excellent brewery. God, I remember coming here like 10 years ago before this part was opened up. It was like it stopped here at the wall, but this is such a great spot. I don't know if you want to say underrated, but maybe underappreciated, but everything they put out, I've never had a bad beer here.
I used to live, no kidding, 3 blocks away, and we moved to another neighborhood in Chicago, not too far away, but we moved right when Begyle and Dovetail were opening up. And I was like, it's probably a good thing for my pocketbook that occurred, but I still was able to frequent them, quite often when I lived in the city, but having them 3 blocks away would have been trouble for me back in the day. So, but yeah, Kevin and Cary does a great job here. They were one of the first craft breweries in Chicago.
Yeah,
we did a feature on them, I believe, back in the summer. And what's interesting, there was only I want to say 8 or 10 legitimate craft breweries back.
Yeah, like Half Acre was here, but I even think like in Malt Row, Metro might have been brewing.
Metropolitan's
at
going,
the Urban Renewal location now, what I think it was. But like Malt Row, I mean, Kevin should get like some kickback. He brought everybody
some
here
tax
to Malt
breaks
Row.
from the city, right? If the city ever gave tax breaks, he should be in line.
Well, yeah, no, this is a terrific beer. Oh, look, they have it in the cooler. I might have to take a 4-pack in this hole.
Yeah, they have a great red ale. I believe it's called something
Dicey Riley.
Dicey Riley. Yeah. Dicey Riley they just started. It's out on their annual pre-St. Patrick's Day run, and if you get a chance to taste that before it's gone, it's well worth it.
Yeah, actually, the Dicey Riley. Now I can't speak for all over, but I saw that at my Jewel. I think last weekend I had a pop in a Jewel. So if you don't have to be in this area to pick it up. I know like Jewel food stores, they carry it, but a great Irish red ale for St. Patrick's Day. You need to cook your corned beef. I recommend a good Irish red ale, so you could use Dicey Riley for that.
Absolutely.
What do you see coming up for the future of the magazine?
Lots of expansion, thankfully. We have about tripled in size in 2.5 years, both in terms of readership, distribution. We're at 64 pages. I could probably easily go to we have to move up in increments of 8 in this industry, but I know I could easily add 8 pages of content. But the fun part is it's been really well received, not only from craft beer enthusiasts, but certainly from industry folks. They can't wait to be part of the magazine. I have a lot of contributors from different breweries and just insiders like yourself, whether it's, bloggers, podcast hosts, media types, influencers. But we really focus on the input from the industry, brewery owners, taproom managers, you name it, even distribution folks. And what appeals to me the most, though, probably is that the feedback I've gotten from people who maybe aren't strict craft beer fans. They're mild fans, right? They might favor bourbon. Maybe they don't drink all that much, but they still find something interesting out of the magazine. Yeah. And that's, as a content creator, as a publisher, as a writer, that's always been my focus is let's bring, some of those people on the periphery, right? Bring them in a little bit, let them soak up what craft beer is all about, especially in a state like Illinois that's doing so many wonderful things. Let's showcase all the great things and let them decide, let them try some things, and hopefully bring them on board with the rest of us, who maybe indulge a little too much.
Is there an article, a feature that you haven't done yet that you're just dying to, put pen to paper on?
There's a lot of ideas. I just don't know if I can put pen to paper. The fun part about the magazine is that people are very truthful, and they're very. So when I got into this, one of the biggest things that surprised me was how much of a fraternal aspect there is. I expected it to be a cutthroat business, right? There's so many craft breweries. It exploded on the scene, 5-10 years ago. And for some people, it's like, it's overly saturated. Like, oh gosh, there's suddenly way too many. And so when I started the magazine, I thought everybody's going to be out for themselves. Kind of just like, hey, not really, I'll say rather reluctant to give so many different compliments and really promote others. It has been the exact opposite. And it's refreshing in this day and age of, politics and social media warfare and things like that. Everyone has been so appreciative, not only of the magazine, but they're so forthcoming in, showing gratitude for all the other ones out there. And they're collaborating, they're drinking at each other's establishments, they're, doing events together, and they know each other. I've been at these events, like they're friends.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the most refreshing part. And it's been fun to experience that. So in terms of features, just leaning more on the industry, getting as much, positive feedback and interesting information from them, what they like doing, what they have going down the road. I think that's the biggest thing. And summer is always, it's peak season everywhere. So
yeah, which hopefully we'll be getting there soon.
Absolutely.
I mentioned earlier, we're recording this on February 6th, and it's a sheet of ice in the city of Chicago.
The sun is shining, though.
Yeah, sun is shining. The thing's going to melt. Well, Trent, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you featuring me in the magazine this time. Once again, the magazine is called Illinois Brewing. You can pick it up at craft breweries, bottle shops. If you're a member of the Imbibe from the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild, you'll get it sent to your house. Definitely pick it up. And if you pick up this month or this quarter, look at page 12. I got to send you a check for that.
It's a great photo, too. You're going to love, it's the Illinois Brewing Insider section. And he just looks like somebody told him the secret to life.
Yeah.
It's a great photo of Dave. And yeah.
My wife took that picture, and my wife's like, you look like a douche. She hates that picture. I'm like, come on. I like that picture.
I love it.
You took it. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, Trent, thank you so much again, brother. I appreciate it. We'll definitely talk to you down the road.
Thanks. Cheers, guys.
Okay. All right, welcome back. I'm having right now, Johnny Quest thinks we're sellouts. If you like Plaque IPAs, this is fantastic. It's done in collaboration with Dry Hop Brewing. They're over at Belmont and Broadway. That's a cool spot. I haven't been there in years, but I know this is how old I am. Back in the day, they used to put on Twitter, now I guess it's X or whatever, they used to do $6 growlers at Dry Hop every Saturday. So my dumbass would drive in from the suburbs, spend more than $6 to park my car just to get a $6 growler. But that was the first time I had Johnny Quest Thinks We're Sellouts. That was the first time I heard of Begyle was having this there. So I'm glad I saw this. Trent, thanks for sticking around and having one more beer.
You don't have to twist my arm, sir. Especially here. I'm enjoying a micropixel American Pale Ale, very crisp, very light, and a little sifter of the Christmas ale that they still have. Hurry down and get it because I don't know how long it's going to be here. And they have their big pajamas day on February 28th, where they break out their barrel-aged pajamas, several different variants they've been working on for over a year. Probably, my guess is between a year and 2 years. And they're breaking out. They have the big event on February 28th that is not to be missed if you're a barrel-aged fan.
Yes. Well, I'll have to call in sick that day or take some PTO.
Yep. And the next day and the next day after that.
Yeah.
So, Dave, I got to flip the script on you for a second. The interviewee is going to be asking the interviewer a question. This is something I get asked all the time with the magazine and discussions with different brewery owners and industry folks is what is the craft beer or beers or the craft beer experience that kind of swayed you in that direction as opposed to, your normal standard corporate beer side of things? What was it that got you onto the craft full-time, the craft side?
It would have to be, all right, let's start from the beginning. Growing up here in Chicago, it's old style. And everybody drank old style. My dad was a Stroh's guy. And to this day, if I ever find Stroh's, I have to grab it in memory of my father.
Okay.
But that was the only thing you had. No one drank Budweiser here. No one drank the High Life back then. When genuine draft came around, people got on board that. But like High Life, no one would ever think of drinking High Life in the 80s. So I worked for an airline back in 1988. My friends and I, we would take day trips. We'd go to a different city, grab lunch, fly back home for dinner. We went to Boston, and we were at Faneuil Hall. We're sitting there. It was a beautiful day out. So grabbing lunch, and I'm looking at the menu, and I see this Samuel Adams Boston Lager. I'm like, all right, well, when in Rome, or in this case, when in Boston, let me try that. And I was just blown away because, one, the color, you didn't have anything that copper color.
That ambery, yeah.
Yeah, and just the malt. And our palates have changed. My palate has changed in 35, 36 years, but that for me was like, oh, wow, beer is actually like different and good. And that to me was the start of this long road to ruin.
Long journey.
Yeah.
A funny quick story about Samuel Adams. We were in Boston in August, and we took my 10-year-old son. He was getting ready to start learning about the Revolutionary War at the start of 5th grade. Took him there on a quick trip before school started. And we did the historical tour, and the guy's dressed in full, revolutionary garb. And he walked us through, and toward the end of the tour, he got to the cemetery where Paul Revere and Sam Adams are buried, and among many other dignitaries from that era. And across the street is one of the oldest pubs in Boston. And he said, he goes, hold on. I just want you to know that this is the only spot in Boston where you can have a cold Sam Adams looking at a cold Sam Adams. And it was funny and cheesy all at the same time. We're like, we got a good kick out of it. But I would say my two that drew me in were Left Hand Milk Stout.
All right, yeah.
I was hiking with my brother in Colorado many, many years ago. And we got done hiking. It was a hot day. And just, had a couple normal beers. And my brother said, have you ever had Left Hand? I said, no. And all of a sudden I had a milk stout. And I said, wait a second. This is what beer can be? Yeah. This is coming from a guy who, a poor sports writer in his 20s was drinking Miller Lite by the, dollar bottle night at McGee's and Duffy's in Chicago in Lincoln Park. And I said, this is an eye-opening experience and a palate-changing experience. And I was able to find when I got back, and here I am telling my Chicago friends about my Colorado experience, and at the Long Room right here on Irving Park in Lakeview, and we walked into the Long Room one night late, and sure enough, they had Left Hand Milk Stout on draft. I said, wait, guys, this is what I had. And little did we know there were 30 other beers on draft, but that was the kicker. And I would be remiss not to mention Great Lakes Christmas Ale in that list. My wife, my wife's family's from Cleveland, and she spent a lot of time there, and so I've been back and forth to Cleveland many times since our dating years. And when I was introduced to Great Lakes Christmas Ale, and then in Cleveland, and a lot of spots at the brewery and at other bars, they spin the pint glass in cinnamon and sugar and let it crystallize. And so they'll line up 100 pint glasses, let them all crystallize, and then when people need one, they pour it and hand it over. And it's just, it's like candy. And to me, that's the quintessential Christmas ale. Everybody has great Christmas ales now, but that's the one that I remember most.
Have you ever done their Christmas in July?
Well, a bar that will remain unnamed, a friend of mine owns the bar we'll say in Chicago, and he would get to, back in the day, Great Lakes was very mysterious. They never told anybody when they're dropping kegs off. You didn't know what beer stores were getting it. So if you found their Christmas ale, you would grab it, harbor it, and hide it like it was like mob money. And this bar would get a couple kegs, and they would serve one right away, and they would put one in the freezer. Bury one until June. And they found out about it and cut them off.
Wow.
And so they said no more. And so that was my one Christmas in July story in Chicago, but I've not been to the Cleveland version.
It's weird, and I've talked about it on the show before. Actually, I had someone from Great Lakes on 3-4 years ago, that in Chicago, Great Lakes came, and I've heard about them. I never had them. But in 2003, so 22 years ago, New Glarus used to be here. And you could get New Glarus at Biddy's, and you could get your overrated Spotted Cow and everything else at Biddy's. And then all of a sudden, they were gone, and there was Great Lakes. And I asked the brewery guy, I'm like, what happened? He's like, all of a sudden, New Glarus decided they're just staying Wisconsin only. So
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we put in Great Lakes. So Great Lakes was here thanks to...
kind of took over the
New Glarus pulling out. But I love Great Lakes. It's one of my favorite Midwest breweries.
So maybe an unpopular opinion, but I will take New Glarus's Moon Man over Spotted Cow all
7
day.
days a week.
All day.
24/7.
And
absolutely.
If I mentioned that to a few friends of mine, they would slap me in the face. And then, but I've found a few people like yourself, apparently, who had that same viewpoint. And I will go out of my way for Moon Man. I think it's fantastic. And I just think it's better than Spotted Cow. But Spotted Cow seems to be the one that everybody gravitates to.
It pays the light bills. And
yeah,
they're
exactly.
Doing a new expansion there. So,
right.
Yeah, I'm never going to say, if someone hands it to me, I'm not going to dump it down the drain. But yeah,
Moon Man's fantastic.
If I'm driving up there, Moon Man's coming back.
I agree.
All right, welcome back to the 5th anniversary show of Beer in Front. Trent Modglin's back with me, but now, look at this. We got a brewery owner that just walked in to sit down. Kevin Cary is the owner of Begyle Brewing.
Begyle.
And I've been effing that up for 5 years, calling it Begyle, until Trent corrected me. So Kevin Cary is the owner of Begyle Brewing. Kevin, thanks for talking today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So what's been going on? What's new coming up here? I mean, we've talked about probably 5 or 6 different beers so far today.
Yeah, we just finished dry January, which luckily felt a little more damp this year than normal. So it seems like people might be jumping off that bandwagon, which is, I'm all for socializing in January. So no, we're excited for the spring. It's sunny out today after that little ice storm we had. But seeing the sun is giving us a little optimism for some of the things we have coming up later this spring. Once we get that first 70-degree day, I think everything's going to be off to the races.
Yeah, once 70-degree happens, everybody's rolling their car windows down. You mentioned dry January before, and January's always a struggle for any craft brewery. How was 2025?
It was actually kind of a surprise. We've done a lot of really nice events that we've brought some back, and just a really good calendar of things going on, and we were able to finish the month pretty strong. It was, knock on wood, our best month, the best January since 2020, but we all know what happened a couple months after that. So we're not trying to be too get too excited, but it's definitely seeing some good signs. There's been, I think, coming out of the last few months of last year, there was a lot of closures happening and things like that. So I think that's on everyone's mind, and people are a little, other breweries are just trying to figure out like what's working, what's not working, and I think we're very fortunate to be right here in the middle of Ravenswood, very densely populated. We've got a great customer base that supports us, and I was very pleased to see January kind of round out really nicely, and then February is already off to a good start.
Yeah, Trent and I mentioned earlier that you're one of the OGs of Malt Row here. Does the Chamber of Commerce give you like some kickback?
Every wonder if tax breaks.
Like tax break anytime a new place opens up, like his was, or demo, anything like that.
One of the first,
you bringing them here.
One of the first 10 or so, right? Yeah. Like less than 10.
Well, yeah, in Chicago, we were the 12th brewery to open in Chicago, okay. And then technically by default we are the oldest brewery on Malt Row. Technically, Metropolitan obviously opened on Ravenswood, but they moved over to Rockwell on the River, and then Half Acre was on Lincoln, but they moved up to Balmoral. So they are still technically part of Malt Row, though. Malt Row goes all the way up Ravenswood, takes a bit of a left to encapsulate Half Acre and Spiteful, but it is really nice to be a part of kind of a destination neighborhood like this. Like I said before, we have a lot of neighbors, we have a lot of potential customers and regulars, but it's also nice to be right off the Brown Line and have that access to other neighborhoods. You can get up to the brewery from Lincoln Park in 10 minutes. It's super easy.
And don't forget, I took advantage of this when I lived a few blocks away, but it is an ideal spot pre and post Cubs games.
Yeah.
So you're a 12-minute walk, depending on how quickly you walk. It could be 8 minutes or it could be 13 minutes, but generally it's say a 12
13 minutes after a couple old styles at Wrigley Field. Yeah.
A 12 to 15 minute walk to Wrigley Field, and it's an ideal spot to swing in and grab some beers. But Kevin, I got to ask you, one of my favorite barrel-aged beers in the city is your barrel-aged pajamas. I know you got a lot of variants coming up. Tell us a little bit about the event on February 28th.
Yeah, so we're bringing back our barrel-aged Imperial Pajamas release, which was always a big one for us. We peaked in 2019 with the gold medal at the Great American Beer Festival. That year's release was incredible, and then it's been a few years since it's really reached the same crescendo that we saw before COVID. But we're excited to release it a new time this year. February is new territory for us, and we used to release it the week before Thanksgiving, but to kind of distance ourselves from the crush of barrel-aged beer. All that barrel-aged beer that comes out around the Christmas time, we decided to pull it out and put it in February, really hoping for one of those really nice February days as well. That would be pretty killer, but we're super excited. We're the same format as but adding back over the years sort of the components that made it great. And so this year we're going to kind of go for it. So we'll have a new variant every hour. We'll have 2 different food vendors. We have Kite String doing taquitos, and then we have El Zorro doing their taco truck.
So I know El Zorro.
Great food, great beer. We have folks that come out and they work remotely. Well, if their employers are listening.
We're using air quotes there.
We will hide their disguise their names to keep them from getting in trouble with their employers. But we see some folks coming out and hanging out all day. Some people like to ride the rails, start at noon, try to make it till 10 o'clock. I don't advise that, but it is always a good, fun day. Liz, our head brewer, she's really good at coming up with flavor combinations, and it'll be fun to. We're working on that right now, putting some ideas together, and since it's been a minute since it's been almost a year, and it's been 15 months since the last time we released it, so I'm excited to get back and doing it again.
Is there a particular variant? I'll keep using that word. Anything like fun and crazy that you're especially looking forward to showcasing?
Well, nothing's dialed in and nothing's confirmed yet, but
still in the wraps a little bit.
Still working on it. Still
no one listens to the show. You can tell us.
No, this is important information.
Yeah.
Someone was it always do better is anything with vanilla always does well. So you compare that with, a multitude of things. Cake themed. So we've like German chocolate cake has been a huge one. Coconut has done well, and then it's really just like riffing on flavors. Like we'll do Almond Joy, I think is like a crowd favorite for sure, which is what's that, chocolate and coconut.
A lot of those flavors were added late in the game, like just very, very at the very end, right?
Yeah, so everything's done on a keg by keg basis. So Liz is dosing each keg individually to create. So it's very labor intensive. It's very
She's going through all her Halloween candy right now, trying to get the right
getting some inspiration.
Profile. Yeah, all right. Let's see if we can do a little Reese's cup with this one.
Yeah. We've one of the coolest ones we ever did was one of our brewers at the time, Nick. His family is from Greece, and they have a candy company, and they make this cherry like syrup. And so we added it's like Argydalis cherry syrup, and we added that in chocolate.
Oh boy.
It was one of the coolest things because not only is it like, this decadent, crazy beverage, but it's like a direct tie, and it's like he brought the bottle all the way back from Greece and was kind enough to share that with us. And that was one of the top, I think.
Like a nice baklava version?
We have done baklava. Yeah. Baklava's crazy. It takes a lot of honey.
Yeah.
So it's like
overload.
We've learned how to execute that one over the years because the honey will, it doesn't mix in unless you really.
No one wants to clean that tank afterwards.
Yeah. So luckily we just do it in the keg. So it's like one keg. But there was one year where we went to pour it out and it was like honey was coming through the tap line.
Oh,
so,
gosh.
We'll definitely steer clear from that, making that happen again. But you just mix it a little better, and it holds up pretty well. So,
we were talking earlier. I've had quite a few beers. Mom, don't pay attention to this, but I had the Dicey Riley, which I loved. We mentioned earlier before you came. It's available all around the Chicagoland area. You picked it up at Jewel, or saw it at Jewel. I'm sorry, the other day. That's like a great red beer for like the St. Patrick's Day. Anything, any plans, any St. Patrick's Day plans, parties coming up?
Yeah, we'll be drinking a lot of Dicey Riley over the next month and a half. This year we are planning a few things for the Saturday before St. Patrick's Day, March 15th. We'll have an Irish trad session in the middle of the day. I believe our food vendor is bringing corned beef sandwiches, and we're adding a few other things, but we're looking to really celebrate the entire day. I believe the Irish rugby team plays on the 15th.
Oh, good. I thought you were going to say they were coming here.
Oh, yeah, the Irish, Irish are coming.
No, the Irish rugby team's showing up.
Let me see. Yeah, and I forget who they're playing that day. I think they're playing Italy, but the Six Nations rugby tournament is on right now, and that's a big one. So we'll be doing that. One other thing that we might be, we haven't released a plan yet, but we might try and get on the split the B. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the split the G. It's all the rage with the Gen Z. But we might try and co-op and do a little split the B on our nitro. We also have a dry Irish stout on nitro, which is really nice. So we might try and get in on that trend.
Nice.
So we'll see. We got a month and a half to figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm not that savvy at social media though, so I wouldn't count on it.
I'm learning things from my 10-year-old, so if that tells you anything, I'm learning phrases.
I know. I saw something from the Green Lady, not that far from here, which is a great local bar. They've even done a co-op shirt with the split the G. So
I saw that.
We could do one for a split the B here.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking forward to March and beyond.
Yeah. I always love May Festiversary. That's one of the great events in the city area. That usually is Memorial Day weekend?
It is Memorial Day weekend. Yeah, it's,
okay.
I think it's 5/25/25 this year.
Okay.
Is the date. So that's coming up not too far away, 3 months. I think it's maybe 105 days away.
Yeah.
So we're right around the corner, but that's a great event. We had both festivals last year. We had about 10,000 people come out, which was over the course of the 2 days. And we raised, between the two festivals, I believe we raised somewhere around $90,000 for our local food pantry, which was awesome. People really come out and support a good cause, and then we just try to have a good time with food trucks, live music.
I was having audio issues, and the interview with Kevin got cut off. Totally my fault, my equipment problems, but Kevin was talking more about the community programs that they serve with the May Festiversary. Wasn't a lot that got cut out, but still annoying on my end, and my apologies to Kevin. But you need to check out Begyle. Great spot. They're at 1800 West Cuyler Avenue. I'm sure I mispronounced that like I mispronounced Begyle. But it's Cuyler Avenue in Chicago. They're right in Malt Row. You could take the Brown Line to Irving Park and walk there. It's a great spot. Hit up Begyle and get you that Dicey Riley. All right, the beer that's in front of me now for the 5th anniversary episode. Try to stay local, and they used to be in the neighborhood, but I'm going to have from Twisted Hippo their Black Umbrella. This is an oatmeal rye stout. They currently brew out of District Brew Yards over on Ashland. I really liked it when they were over on Montrose at the black hole of breweries. But yeah, I really enjoyed their stuff. And when I see their products out and about, I do try to pick them up. I'm a big fan of Black Umbrella, so I wanted to have this for the podcast. This is 7.5% alcohol, and let's crack it open. Black Umbrella has a beautiful color, really good foam here, good couple fingers of foam. Smells good. And you get all those nice roasted malts. You get that aroma that hits you. It smells fantastic. Oh, yeah, that's really good. Good flavors there. Good creamy mouthfeel. No, this is a winner. I'm a big fan of this. I love rye in anything as, a specialty malt. I think rye adds a nice touch to pretty much everything. So, I was already a fan of this before I cracked it open. No, that's really good. If you like stouts, you like rye, definitely if you see this from Twisted Hippo, put this one in the cart. This is Black Umbrella. Once again, it's an oatmeal rye stout. Checking in at 7.5% alcohol. It's a winner. All right, that's going to wrap things up for this 5th anniversary edition of Beer in Front. I thank you so much for listening and putting up with me for the last 5 years. If you want to get a hold of me, email me, dave@beerinfront.com. Once again, I want to thank Trent Modglin from Illinois Brewing and Kevin Cary from Begyle for hosting us. Great time. Beguile's a great spot. You got to check them out and pick up Illinois Brewing. Have a great week. I'll talk to you next week. And remember, sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet.